When he said Margaret Thatcher did great hurt to the British people, although not as much as all those bombs, eh, Jerry? All right, Jerry, any time, you fella! Straight between you, gizzard!
I thought we politically moved on from issuing threats to former members of the IRA.
Well, the BBC also interviewed Maggie's biggest fan and disciple, Tony Blair. Did you see his tribute? He said, very few leaders get to change the landscape of not just their own country, but of the world. I mean, well, he certainly changed the landscape of Baghdad. I'm sorry, Tony, I'm sorry about that, because he had a heart operation, once he had an aberration.
Well, he had one put in.
Did he have one put in? He did. And now, Lord Howe of Aberavon was... I'm not going to say that again.
Yeah, go on.
I'm not, Aberavon...
It sounds like you're drowning in a bath.
was asked by Sky for his thoughts on his time in Thatcher's cabinet. And he said it was a long time ago. Well, yes, that's the idea when someone dies, Geoffrey. A bit of reminiscing about old stuff. Come on, shape up!
I think you're in safer ground attacking Geoffrey Howe than you were with Jerry Adams.
Did you hear about Julian Stiles? According to the Mirror, Julian, 58, was made redundant from his factory job in 1984. I've been waiting for that witch to die for 30 years, he said. Tonight is party time. I'm drinking one drink for every year I've been out of work. 30 years? Without a job? Pull your finger out, Julian, you lazy bastard! I'll chin you, you bastard!
Let's abandon this show. Brian says, who wants a fight? Line up in alphabetical order. Adams, you're first.
And let's take a listen to the next history noise.
Next history noise.
Paul and Mark.
A zip?
It was a zip, yeah. Why is zip particularly historical this week?
Must be the 100th anniversary of the zip.
100th anniversary of the zip.
Yes, it's been 100 years to the day since a man first went, no, that's just making it worse. Yeah, I'll tell you what, if cats don't like being stroked, they should try that. The zip appears in the top 5 of the list of 100 greatest inventions of all time. Can you tell me what else might appear in that top 5?
There's a moth in the studio. Moths. A moth. Fire. Fire's got to be one of the top inventions, isn't it?
No. I think fire was a discovery more than invention.
Oh. That moth is very, very excited. Someone's got something very old out the wardrobe. I think it's that gentleman's jumper.
It shows you how interesting this programme is. Everybody's focus is now on that moth. So, the fire. Fire. So, fire's a discovery.
Let's take a look at the top 5. They are in order. The corkscrew, or bottle opener.
Yes.
The optical lens, the zip fastener, the cigarette lighter...
Fire! Portable fire, I should have said.
What about the moth zapper? Really do with one now.
I told you to wait in the van.
According to the Daily Telegraph, under a no-deal Brexit, British holidaymakers would be banned from taking Cornish pasties with them to the EU. Holidaymakers will be forced to smuggle the food past customs officials.
You might not want to eat it after you've smuggled it past customs officials.
Well, this is the question. If you were forced to smuggle a Cornish pasty through customs, how would you do it?
I know.
Go on in.
Under both breasts, I can get 2 Cornish pasties, 2 bottles of iron brew and a sausage dug.
Any answers on your side?
We can't compete with that. We haven't
Can't.
worked out why you'd want to take a Cornish pasty to Europe.
You might enjoy a Cornish pasty. It might always be a family tradition to have a Cornish pasty on holiday.
Oh, in Brittany?
Yeah.
And I can keep them warm all the way.
Well, that is the important thing.
Yes. This menopause is not going to waste.
However, Ed Balls was remaining optimistic.
Mr. Balls, thank you very much for joining us. First of all, there's been this story going the rounds on Twitter and all the rest of it that you've been defeated Have you heard anything about your result yet or not?
David, the ballot boxes haven't even arrived in the count. And they've got to be counted, and then we'll get the results. So I think maybe you should spend less time on Twitter and more time reporting the results when they're actually declared.
Let's just see how
That's
it
the
panned
Shadow
out for
Chancellor.
him.
So good of him to explain the whole process. They get the votes in and then they count them. Well, thank you, Ed. Thank you for your insight, you little expert.
He's an economist. He's good with figures.
Should we see how it panned out for him?
Ed Balls, in the last few minutes, Shadow Chancellor, lost his seat to the Conservatives.
Is that an R?
No. No, I think
This
some
is
people
the Shadow Chancellor.
No, some people were genuinely surprised, I think. There were some people who didn't know.
I'm sorry. I thought it was a wave of empathy.
Is David Dimbleby going to call him and go, have they been counted now, Ed?
Who might be particularly delighted with the timing of the election announcement?
Paula Venables from the post office, because she was up in the inquiry and it blasted her off the front pages and she would have got an absolute shellacking.
That's right, former post office head honcho and national sweetheart, Paula Venables.
She cried 4 times for herself. It was a really disgraceful performance. And I think, yeah, it was appalling. She said things like, I didn't know that they were prosecuting these people when I took over. And you think, that just isn't true. It's all lies. I mean, she is now in the inquiry trying to blame her colleagues, which is the entire point of the inquiry, is that she's already blamed people who didn't do it in an attempt to cover herself, and now she's doing it again.
I also just don't understand how you can come and take over an organisation where suddenly, out of nowhere, after a new computer system comes in, 1 in 12 people that work from you has got their hands in the till and you never previously noticed, even though they worked for you for 30 years before that.
And you work for the Tory party.
I know! Right?
But if what is happening is that the amount of money that you claim they've stolen is returned to the post office and then you take it out as a bonus, which they did, that's straightforward theft.
I was going to call it corruption.
That's worse than that.
Is it worse than corruption? OK.
Ryan Giggs has spent an awful lot of money to ensure that he's become world famous for stuff other than football.
Yeah.
But people still might be sued for telling people that it was him. So.
Yeah, well, that's right. The MP, John Hemming, he said that apparently 75,000 people named Ryan Giggs on Twitter. It's not possible to arrest them all. Well, I mean, it's worth a go, though, isn't it? I mean, well, the thing is, the injunction is still in place.
That's right.
That's the thing.
Absolutely.
Despite the people keep going blabbing it out, there's a legal expert, Joshua Rosenberg.
Yeah.
This is what he had to say about it, right?
Well, the law is clear. There is still a court order in force which says that we can't name Ryan Giggs as the person who brought these proceedings.
I'm pleased we can say his name, though, because I was getting so fed up. Every newspaper, every day, it was like, Imogen Thomas has been having sexual liaisons with a man who cannot be named.
No.
It's like, what, Voldemort?
Yeah.
I sort of see why he did it as well, Ryan Giggs, because you get the super injunction. He knows that if his identity was known, then people would know not only who he was, but also that his marriage was on the rocks. And at that point, John Terry would be round his house like a sex-crazed whippet.
Yes, the worst-kept secret in Britain is finally out. Lawyers are a complete waste of money. As the row unfolded, thousands of Twitter users named Ryan Giggs in what the Daily Mail called one of the biggest acts of civil disobedience in modern times. Top that, Syria, lightweights.
Paul Merton tonight is a controversial broadcaster who once said, I know how transient fame is. I know that after I stop doing Kilroy, I'll be forgotten and not missed. So please welcome Robert Thingamy Doodah. Paul and Robert, this is for you.
You know, it's Gaddafi getting off a plane, that's him shaking hands with somebody. It may not even be his hand, it may be somebody behind him sticking his hand through. And that's a letter to Blair, your Middle East policy is doomed, says diplomats, proving I can read out loud.
It's Colonel Gaddafi's historic visit to Brussels. What did he have to say?
We have abandoned all our weapons of mass destruction and they're now gone and we are now sort of like friends of the West.
But we might go back to terrorism.
Did he say that?
He did say we might go back to terrorism if you don't treat us very nicely and give us lots of subsidies.
He declared Libya was determined and committed to playing a leading role in achieving world peace, unless, of course, we're obliged by any evil to go back to the days when we put explosive belts around our beds.
Beds!
Beds, if you please. What does that mean?
It's one way of getting up in the morning, isn't it?
Where did he stay when he was in Brussels?
In that green outside tent, which was fashioned exactly like the one he had in Tripoli.
Actually, it's just
Those
like
women.
Paul's shirt. The actual wallpaper is
If you look at that tent, you'll see there's a shirt-shaped hole in the side of it.
So on to round two, and having been a sports presenter for 35 years, it's no surprise they've asked me to host a special round on the arts. We'll gradually reveal a heavily pixelated image, so buzz in when you know what that means and what the story is. Here we go with the first picture. Fingers on buzzers, please.
Ah, this is Des Lynam in Lego form.
No.
Have you ever been done in Lego?
No. Do you think I should be?
The night's still young. But we can't get it from that, can we?
No, we better see a little bit more.
I like the music. This is a Wagnerian singer who was trapped by a giant spider's web. Presumably, the only opera story this week that I remember is the English National Opera. They've been advised not to call each other darling, because it might lead to sort of...
sexual harassment.
Beg your pardon?
Yeah, that.
I've got to do the show first. Nice of you to ask, though. You can put your hand on my knee during the odd one out round. So it's about not calling people darling or love, you know. But actors do this because they can never remember anybody's names.
You're quite right. An E&O spokesperson put it, whilst it may be acceptable between friends, it would be thought of very differently if the term is used by a senior colleague and accompanied by a wink.
I see what the ladies mean.
Happy with it?
The silver fox.
Not you. Ian and Marcus, your four are Rebecca Luce, Claire Short, Beverly Hughes, and Robert Kilroy Silk.
Only one of them is eating flies. I think this is a question about being sacked. Claire Short resigned.
But slightly too late.
Sort of after the war.
Well, yeah, and sort of a long time after Robin Cook, when it might have made a difference, you daft.
You're on the right sort of line.
Beverly Hughes resigned, but Robert Kilroy Silk also resigned.
So?
Rebecca Luce was fired, everyone else resigned.
Well, the answer is that they all blame their PAs for their own public embarrassment, except Rebecca Luce, who blamed her bosses, the Beckhams. Happy with that?
No, I didn't blame anybody. I explained it was a secretary. I pushed the wrong button.
As long as you're shifting the blame sideways.
Yes.
Why did the article cause so much trouble second time around?
Context.
Someone read it.
I made a mistake of not saying in the last 500 years. If I'd said if they haven't done anything and contributed anything to civilization in the last 500 years, then there wouldn't have been a single inaccuracy in the column.
Right. And should you have said Arab states rather than just generic Arabs?
Yes, you should have
think
said
that would have been
Arab
less
states.
offensive?
Yeah, absolutely.
Saying individually they were all worthless?
No. Well,
you
we
think
know
that might have annoyed a few people?
It got under some people's skins, yeah. But then you know that, no, we don't really mean that, do we?
Don't we, me?
What? I'm trying to draw you in as an ally.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
No, I'm not as bright as him, but don't try me either.
When did they come up with the pendulum, then, and the compass?
They didn't, actually.
Didn't they?
No. Most of those were...
They did on my card here.
Well, that's fine.
Shakespeare hasn't done much for 500 years either, has he? What's been your contribution, Robert?
Trying to keep...
When you're not doing your show, what's been your contribution? Say in the last 20 years. When you weren't doing that crap show, what was your contribution?
He was an MP, wasn't he?
MP.
Are you too fat to walk? Then phone us. Have you had a psychic experience involving a budgie and a motorbike? Give us a ring. Now, I believe you're too thick to feed yourself, you fat
I changed the law.
In what way?
Lots of laws.
Give us one.
One.
No, give us 5.
No, I'll give you one.
No, lots can
I'll give you one. I'll give you one. I exempted war widows' pension from income tax.
Oh, that's good.
That's good.
Yeah, I think that's a nice thing to do. But did you invent falafel?
Have you done anything like that, Michael? Did I invent what?
Falafel.
No.
They invented that. There you go.
Claire Short recently blamed her secretary for failing to declare all her earnings in the Register of Members' Interests. According to The Telegraph, her PA claimed earnings from broadcasting in the last 3 months were nil. Untrue in Claire's case, but spot on for you, eh, Robert?
Thanks, Des.
Paul and Robert, your lineup includes T.E. Lawrence, Kelvin Mackenzie, Richard Desmond, and Wilson, Keppel and Betty.
Well, the only thing I know is that Richard Desmond, who owns the Sunday Express, gave a lot of money last year to German charities.
Did he?
It doesn't make it less amusing that he danced around the Telegraph.
I thought it was very funny.
Singing Deutschland über alles and calling everyone Nazis.
No. Is that why he's the odd one out?
I think it's... T.E. Lawrence is obviously Lawrence of Arabia, so at one point he disguised himself in Arab dress, didn't he? Yeah. Right? That's my film. Well, in real life, which was based on him film, you know, based on his life.
Because actually he was a corporal in the
I think it was real life first, and then it...
No, real life film.
Because they did the film first, he thought that's a good idea, and then he went and did it. Wilson, Keppel and Betty, those two men used to disguise themselves as Egyptians to do the sand dance act, so there's a link between those two.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so
Sand.
what? Sand, yeah.
Sand.
So I'm suggesting that Kelvin Mackenzie has probably disguised himself as an Arab because Richard Desmond...
Why probably? Why should he?
I'll tell you what, let's play a game where I finish a sentence, Robert, and you can shut up. Robert, shut up!
No!
I think Desmond's good one. Yes.
No!
I think Desmond...
No!
He looks upset, Robert. Put your arm around him, he might cry.
What do you think is the answer?
Desmond.
I think Desmond's the odd one out because he pretended to be German, all the others pretended to be Arabs.
Is the right answer.
Ryan Giggs has spent an awful lot of money to ensure that he's become world famous for stuff other than football.
Yeah.
But people still might be sued for telling people that it was him. So.
Yeah, well, that's right. The MP, John Hemming, he said that apparently 75,000 people named Ryan Giggs on Twitter. It's not possible to arrest them all. Well, I mean, it's worth a go, though, isn't it? I mean, well, the thing is, the injunction is still in place.
That's right.
That's the thing.
Absolutely.
Despite the people keep going blabbing it out, there's a legal expert, Joshua Rosenberg.
Yeah.
This is what he had to say about it, right?
Well, the law is clear. There is still a court order in force which says that we can't name Ryan Giggs as the person who brought these proceedings.
I'm pleased we can say his name, though, because I was getting so fed up. Every newspaper, every day, it was like, Imogen Thomas has been having sexual liaisons with a man who cannot be named. It's like, what, Voldemort? Yeah. I sort of see why he did it as well, Ryan Giggs. Because you get the super injunction, he knows that if his identity was known, then people would know not only who he was, but also that his marriage was on the rocks. And at that point, John Terry would be round his house like a sex-crazed wicket.
Yes, the worst kept secret in Britain is finally out. Lawyers are a complete waste of money. As the row unfolded, thousands of Twitter users named Ryan Giggs in what the Daily Mail called one of the biggest acts of civil disobedience in modern times. Top that, Syria, lightweights.
Someone was tweeting, it was a thing like kind of vintage nostalgia, and it was saying, do you know the name of my first pet was Rosie? I wonder what the name of your first pet was, everyone. And then people started joining in and giving the name of their first pet, which, of course, is a security question for your bank. You know, it's literally, it's like saying, I'll tell you what my PIN number is, 1471. Anyone got one higher than that? I wonder what it is.
1471.
The thing I find astonishing, though, is that with all this data theft about, my Wikipedia entry's still full of lies.
Mine once said I was Oprah Winfrey's nephew.
My entry says that I'm a collector of antique cutlery.
And some very nice old lady sent a load of spoons to my office the other day. And I said, why she sent me a load of spoons? And then it turned out it was because she'd read my entry on Wiki and found this stuff in her attic and just sent it to me. So I collect Porsches.
Ian and Nancy, how they look at this?
That's a Tory MP. You can tell they're all like that. That's a Labour MP.
Yeah.
That's Tom Watson. Murdoch's been arrested. He's in the slammer. Bye-bye. And they can't bear to look.
Because
It's so
they can't bear to
sad.
look. Yes, they are very sad.
So that's it. Big news. Murdoch's inside. And he's...
Not strictly true.
No, it isn't, is it? I was suddenly in the world of fantasy. There's been a select committee, and they delivered their report. And they said that Murdoch was willfully blind. And they said his son was willfully ignorant about the phone hacking and what was going on in News International. So it was a really bad day for the Murdochs.
Yeah, I think there are some important questions to be answered by all of Rupert Murdoch's employees.
I think there are.
Yeah, so here we go. What do you think about it, Jeremy? Well, I think as a Sun journalist, it's just a lot of stuff and nonsense and a storm in a teacup. So there we are, moving on. Paul?
I thought you were talking to me there when you said, what do you think, Jeremy? I thought you just forgot my name.
You're not the only Sun journalist. Nancy writes for The Sun.
On the Sunday, a column about fashion. Now, I can't believe myself when I accepted.
You shocked yourself, did you?
Actually, I shocked myself many times. So, yes, every day, even a shock was there when I walked in the mirror in the morning. I can surprise I'm getting beautiful and beautiful every day. So,
Do we have any English guests on this?
Now, don't start. Do you need an interpreter?
Yeah.
OK, I'll translate. Nancy was really ashamed of herself for taking money from Murdoch.
Yeah.
Is that not it? You know, there's a shortage of court interpreters in this country. I think I might apply.
Why do you think you speak the perfect English?
Do I think I speak perfect English? These things are relative. But I don't speak 5 languages, unlike you, so,
Thank you.
I'm just trying to be helpful.
Stop flirting! You did actually once say, didn't you, that any man who doesn't flirt with you must be gay?
Yes, I said.
Ian, you passed.
How did Keir himself accidentally lighten the mood?
Sausages instead of hostages.
So good.
Yeah.
I did feel for him because he gave a very long speech and I thought, no one will remember anything about that apart from he said, we're going to bring the sausages home.
Yeah.
I think what happened there is sometimes when I come on the television, my mates will be like, can you get the word unicycle in?
Which you just done.
James, you owe me a tenner, mate.
Unicycle, I'll have a tenner as well.
I think what's happened here is his mate, Labour peer Wahid Ali, has gone, if you say sausages in your next speech, I'll give you 16 grand. And he knew that hostages was coming up and he saw an opportunity. That's what I think has happened.
It's a product placement, effectively. Sounds plausible.
Can I just say that the night Keir did that, I was doing an event with John McCarthy, who actually had been a hostage in Lebanon. And I thought, oh no, this is really bad taste. I don't know what's going to happen. John McCarthy stood up and said, as a former sausage...
Shall we have a look at the clip?
I call again for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza. The return of the sausages. The hostages.
It's so good.
Is this any connection with Liz Truss opening up new pork markets?
That is a disgrace.
Yes.
You're not very gung-ho, are you?
It's all a load of nonsense, and it's Major trying to get some popularity at the last minute, and I don't think the British public will buy it. If you want me to be serious for a moment, which I doubt you do.
Well, it's good news for you, though. You've just discovered somebody who reads the Daily Mirror, because... that must be...
It's a more shocking discovery than I've just discovered Ian Hassop can read.
All the bitching.
Yes. You wouldn't...
Because Because didn't you send
You should know all about complaints here, shouldn't you?
But didn't you send photographers in to sneak up on this chap's wife while she was in a hospital or something, caring like that?
Yeah.
And you got ticked off for that.
Yeah.
And you probably had a go at Selina Scott's sex life.
Well,
and
we only said she'd enjoyed some smoked salmon down by a loch in Lomond. That was all.
A loch in Lomond?
A loch in Lomond.
There was only one loch in Lomond.
I don't know what...
I can't remember what it's called now.
The Queen...
No, the answer to this is...
Has someone complained? They all complained.
Only one of them was thrown out, which was Julia Carling. The rest of them were all...
So you lost 3 and Julia Carling...
Well, we didn't lose.
You beat Julia Carling.
We had 3 adjudications against us, which we tried to resist.
Sounds like 3-1 down to me.
Admittedly, we were left in a slightly vulnerable
you
position.
accepted the rulings, obviously, Piers,
Of course
didn't
we
you?
did, yeah.
As a paid-up member of the Press Complaints Commission, you said, fine, it's a fair cop.
Exactly. What are you getting at it?
No, just checking you hadn't been vindictive about it afterwards.
And in no way would I be vindictive unless it was Rupert Allison.
Oh.
Well, he's the one that brought a case against you, and then you went...
No, he thinks we've got a vendetta against him.
Which you have.
The one that you send your photographers to the south of France to photograph him. That Rupert Allison, is that the one? Just because he took a court case against you?
We have a vendetta against his party. There's nothing wrong with that.
But you left him alone until he brought a case against you.
No, he's always bringing cases against it. He loves it.
Well, let's not fall out over this. Have we got the points?
The truth is, Julia Carling is the only one who was unsuccessful in a Press Complaints Commission complaint against...
Because they adjudicated that she'd invaded her own privacy.
They said that unlike Earl Spencer, for instance, who has sold his family photos to Hello magazine repeatedly for lots of money, she had put herself into the public eye. It was deemed that Earl Spencer was entitled to privacy because, presumably, he's...
Well, his wife was entitled to receive treatment in hospital without being photographed having it. Probably was the ruling, the basis.
That was part of the ruling, that was the part I'd concede.
But your proprietor agreed with the PCC, didn't he?
He did, yes.
You sort of got rather bollocked by Murdoch, didn't you?
Rather? I got severely bollocked, yeah.
Did he? Were you sacked?
You know...
Sacked, did you say?
Were you sacked?
That's a very serious thing to say on television.
Did you get sacked?
I didn't get sacked. I'm glad you said it, because that's going to help pay for the holiday, thanks.
I can just imagine a jury finding for the editor of the News of the World.
It's almost like finding the editor of Private Eye, isn't it? By the way, Ian, you know where you live?
Yeah.
You're about to get a new neighbour.
You?
Happy New Year.
Well, actually, next-door neighbours are you going to be?
He'll be within long lens, I can assure you.
Is that a photographer?
He's a charmer, isn't he?
That's a man on a bicycle.
That's the Transport Secretary who missed his train. This is Rail Track, where we've sold off the rail industry.
Was that the Daily Mirror?
Yes, exactly.
I use the collective we as in you and I, Ian.
Oh, right,
OK. Right. And we've all made lots of money, all those who invested in it have, which I didn't, but I presume a capitalist like Ian would have done. And at the end of the day...
Have you two met before somewhere? And
you're very left-wing for a man who used to edit the News of the World.
He's very left-wing for a man who currently edits the Daily Mirror.
I won't go on, but the tragedy is that the poor girl that won had a terrible arthritic attack moments before she went on stage.
Piers, this is a comedy news quiz. Arthritis doesn't normally feature in that. But a lot of sad stories that don't get on.
Well, you're here, Clive.
Yeah. But you won't be back.
No, your clue is Little Willie.
No, it's William Aldergrave.
Ian Hislop.
We've resorted to genital insult, haven't we? You and Paula Yates.
Well...
the cream of the nation's wits.
Ever a man of my word. Piers, your 4 unlikely companions are Rupert Allison, Sting, a koala bear, Geoffrey Clements, leader of the Natural Law Party.
Is the answer jam?
Not in so many words.
Because last week Eddie Izzard said everybody roared with laughter. It was hilarious. I just thought I'd say...
But people like him.
I will continue what I was going to say. Well, I was going to remind everyone that the PCC castigated the Daily Mirror in March for giving away the whereabouts of Robbie Coltrane's house, saying in some cases the publication of an individual's address might create a potential risk to that person. The Mirror apologised for any stress caused in a press statement issued by their editor, Piers Morgan, of 13 Woodcote Drive, Chigwell.
Actually, can I just say that they rejected that complaint?
Did they?
By Robbie Coltrane, so you're entirely wrong to use that against me.
Oh, yeah, but they did say that...
I just thought I'd say that, in case the
surprised.
viewers got the wrong idea by this vindictive attack on me, personally. Carry on.
You're feeling a bit vulnerable.
You're invading my privacy, and I'd rather you left me alone.
You've stepped into the public eye now, Piers. You were elected to come on this programme, you've got to take it.
I demand my privacy.
OK, we won't talk to you again then.
He said he didn't say it, and then the policeman came out and said he won't answer the question. But he had a tape going in which he said, I admit I swore and I'm sorry about that.
He was wearing a wire. And the feds didn't realise. He turned the tables against them. Well, how long did the original incident actually last, the actual incident?
45 seconds.
45 seconds. And so far it's cost...
£250,000
yes, it has. Yes.
To investigate.
Can we get the Chinese pay for that?
160 million people in China watched it on YouTube.
Yeah.
But they must really not have liked him. There must have been a build-up of animosity towards him.
Yeah, do you think he'd ridden up to the gates most days and said, open it?
Yeah. Maybe...
Clapping his hands. Open, come on! Bike here, eco!
You know, it's a terrible dilemma. Do you believe a Tory member of the Cabinet or a policeman? You know, public's got a real problem there.
Police whistleblower has actually come forward, you mentioned that,
They're all
about talking about a result.
They're all whistleblowers, they all blow whistles.
I don't think they do anymore.
OK, logically it doesn't work.
Mobile phone. When this show began, you could have done that joke. I don't mean today, I mean 20 years ago.
I felt tense because you went very quiet. And I thought, oh, God, I've cut across a friend of Tom Cruise's.
Well, a whistleblower has come forward with the result of a plot to get Mitchell. And he says that Mitchell had a row at the gates the previous evening as well, after which one of the officers had said, right, we can stitch him up. I love the idea that they actually said it like you would in the Beano.
If, as a result of his presidency, the world does indeed end, won't it be marvellous to think it happened in our time?
He might change what the word presidential means. Like, in a few years, you'll be going, oh, my uncle fell over and banged his head on a curb. He's been rendered completely presidential.
He dismissed the head of the FBI this week.
Comey, James Comey?
Mr. Comey was dismissed.
Comey over.
Because he was...
investigating his connections with Russia.
And now there's an inquiry. Who's been put in charge of the inquiry?
They've got a special prosecutor.
A former head of the FBI.
And when you open up that special prosecutor, there'll be another little special prosecutor. And open up, there'll be another little... and eventually a little bloke saying, did you do it?
He's Robert Mueller, who was the former FBI director. James Comey's done something to get his revenge on Trump. Any idea
He has
what
produced his memo.
Oh,
he
yes,
kept a
he
memorandum.
didn't he?
Yes.
After Trump tweeted that he had kept, or suggested he might have kept a recording of the dinner that took place in February, Comey then came back to say, well, I kept a memorandum.
And he said, will you drop the Russian stuff? So basically he accused him of literally trying to interfere in the process of justice. And the Americans don't like that very much. So it is all going wrong.
Yeah.
And then the best bit was Putin, who was like, oh, if you want the transcript, we've got one.
How did Trump's administration respond to Comey's leak?
With confusion.
With incredible confusion. According to online news website Daily Beasts, one official said, I felt like running down the hallway with a fire extinguisher.
His resignation attracted the usual bunch of renter quotes. What we've seen is a Prime Minister who clearly is totally disconnected with how the voters in Britain feel about MPs' expenses. That was Nigel Farage. The same Nigel Farage who in 2009 revealed that as an MEP he'd claimed in expenses £2 million of taxpayers' money.
Who was it? Who was it that brought up the issue of £2 million and me and taxpayers' money? Dennis McShane.
Yeah, he's in jail, but you're not.
Yes, I had noticed that.
Good.
Yes, well, as a tax-funded MEP, Nigel Farage is an equal opportunities employer. Some of our money has gone to his wife and some to his mistress. Or have I got that wrong?
I think that is allegedly, don't you? I think that is allegedly.
We can set the record straight now.
Yeah, I think it is. I think you ought to say allegedly, quite honestly.
Can I say, as a member of the press, I think, you know, actors really are in need of a royal charter. I mean, that sort of allegation is pretty distressing. Right, is it true?
No, afraid not.
Not true at all?
Not true at all.
Any of the good bits?
There are good bits.
I'll tell you afterwards.
Right.
Well, let's have a look, shall we, at some of those revelations. Here is Nikki Sinclair, former UKIP MEP, now representing the We Demand a Referendum party in the European Parliament. Take a close look at the reaction of the translator in the bottom left corner of the screen.
Does Mr Farage think it's a fair use of taxpayers' money, namely his secretarial allowance, not only to employ his wife Kirsten, but his former mistress Annabel Fuller? Is this a responsible use of taxpayers' money, Mr Farage?
I would just say this to you, Chairman. This is somebody who hid under the cloak of parliamentary privilege to make those comments, and when asked to repeat them, publicly refused to do so.
Quite funny, though.
David Cameron was very rude about your people, wasn't he, Nigel?
Oh, he always is.
Yes, he said...
He can't help himself.
He can't help himself. He said they were all fruitcakes and loonies.
And loonies, and
yes.
worse. He said worse than that.
He did, right.
Extremists.
Extremists?
Yeah.
Shocking.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's time... I think it's time for a game of fruitcake or loony. OK, everyone, fingers on your buzzers. I'll show you some UKIP party members. You have to buzz in and tell me whether they're a fruitcake or a loony. Here's the first one.
I don't know who he is.
Ian.
I'm just guessing.
Yep.
Fruitcake.
I'm afraid that's the wrong answer. He's a loony. He's a would-be UKIP councillor and loony John Sullivan, who wrote, "Regular physical exercise releases boys' tensions and thus avoided homosexuality." Which is quite right, Mr Sullivan, and that's why you'll never see a gay man down the gym. Fingers on buzzers, here's your next one. Nigel Farage, UKIP party.
This is a bit tricky, this one, because he's the treasurer and one of our biggest donors. And I wouldn't really like to call Stuart Wheeler either. I'll have to go for fruitcake.
Is the correct answer. You got it right. Yes. This is UKIP party treasurer Stuart Wheeler and fruitcake, who said that women had no place in the boardroom and couldn't compete with men at sports, even when they're not physically disadvantaged. He said, chess, bridge, poker, women come absolutely nowhere. I think that just has to be borne in mind. Final go, fruitcake or loony?
I don't know the chap.
No, anyone?
I'm going to go for loony.
It's the wrong answer. It's actually a trick question. He's not a fruitcake nor a loony. He's a closet racist. At a public meeting about travellers, he said, "The Romanians, they'll stick a knife in you as soon as look at you." His name is Rob Fraser.
Well, thanks for telling me.
Well, there you go. UKIP supporter.
Nice chap, buys his round.
Kind of the main act. What did you make of his speech?
Well, I mean, again, he's quite competent. He doesn't mess up the auto cue. He got some applause. He did some stuff in the middle. He quoted Kipling, the poet, not the cake maker.
Don't patronise me! To be fair, I always thought it was pronounced kapling.
It's National Poetry Day today, isn't it?
Is it?
I think it is,
Yeah.
yeah.
It is.
Well, not tomorrow, obviously, when we're shown, so that ruins that.
This isn't live!
It's barely breathing.
How did you feel about him having a go at your friend Jeremy Corbyn, Diane?
Well, it's certainly not the kinder, gentler politics.
He did say in his speech of Jeremy Corbyn, he said, "My friends, we cannot let that man inflict his security-threatening, terrorist-sympathising, Britain-hating ideology on the country we love." This was in reference to an interview Corbyn gave in 2011 where he said it was a tragedy bin Laden had been assassinated rather than tried in an international court. BBC News didn't mention that nuance in their coverage of Cameron's speech because they've still got a licence fee to defend.
Ian and Nancy, how they look at this?
That's a Tory MP. You can tell they're all like that. That's a Labour MP.
Yeah.
That's Tom Watson. Oh, Murdoch's been arrested. He's in the slammer. Bye-bye. And they can't bear to look. It's so sad.
Yes, they are very sad.
So that's it. Big news. Murdoch's inside. And he's...
Not strictly true.
No, it isn't, is it? I was suddenly in the world of fantasy. There's been a select committee, and they delivered their report. And they said that Murdoch was willfully blind. And they said his son was willfully ignorant about the phone hacking and what was going on in News International. So it was a really bad day for the Murdochs.
Yeah, I think there are some important questions to be answered by all of Rupert Murdoch's employees.
I think there are.
Yeah, so here we go. What do you think about it, Jeremy? Well, I think as a Sun journalist, it's just a lot of stuff and nonsense and a storm in a teacup. So there we are, moving on. Paul?
I thought you were talking to me there when you said, what do you think, Jeremy? I thought you just forgot my name.
You're not the only Sun journalist. Nancy writes for The Sun.
On the Sunday, a column for about fashion. Now, I can't believe myself when I accepted.
You shocked yourself, did you?
Actually, I shocked myself many times. So, yes, every day, even a shock was there when I walked in the mirror in the morning. I can surprise everyone getting beautiful and beautiful every day. So,
Well, have any English guests on this?
Now, don't start. Do you need an interpreter?
Yeah.
OK, I'll translate. Nancy was really ashamed of herself for taking money from Murdoch.
Yeah.
Is that not it? You know, there's a shortage of court interpreters in this country. I think I might apply.
Why do you think you speak the perfect English?
Do I think I speak perfect English? These things are relative. But I don't speak 5 languages, unlike you, so,
Thank you.
I'm just trying to be helpful.
Stop flirting! You did actually once say, didn't you, that any man who doesn't flirt with you must be gay?
Yes, I said.
Ian, you passed.
On Ian's team, a Swindon-based comedian who has been very open about suffering from a debilitating disorder, namely that he lives in Swindon. Please welcome John Richardson. And on Paul's team is one of the few politicians who knows what the future holds for him. A regular slot bantering with Jeff Stelling in Dictionary Corner. Please welcome Lembit Opik. Ian and John, take a look at this.
Queues. Yeah, people wanting to vote.
Unmanageable turnout of 65%.
They think this is South Africa. Get out of it! Now, that's the Lib Dem votes being chucked in the river. Off you go!
My votes, my votes.
That's someone explaining they haven't a clue. Goodbye to you. Go and watch a film, one of your husbands. Hello, Gordon. Well, the people have spoken, as Joe said, and they've said, I'm not sure.
We don't know any of you.
Oh, what about you? I don't know. No, it's very exciting. We've got a new Prime Minister, Gordon Brown. You've never voted for him before, and you didn't vote for him this time. So, democracy working pretty damn well, I think.
Does this mean this is going to carry on?
What, this show? God.
The whole I thought at least it would be finished this morning, but it's not, is it? It's going to be months of...
Months of it?
In some cases, it has.
It's good that you're not dwelling on it, though.
I'm completely over it.
After 19 years, is it? Presumably it's...
13 years and 4 days, roughly. I mean, I'm not counting, but... Somebody was.
If I was Brown, and today I would just resign and then run naked through the streets of London going, you're the bigot, you're the bigot. Can't touch me now, bigots. But they're all still... They're trying to make friends, aren't they? They're trying to do a, hey... They're like passing notes on the news this morning going, tell Nick I think he's fit, Gordon.
It is indeed the overwhelmingly indecisive outcome of the election. In fact, we only know one result for sure. Don't we, Lembit?
Can we get on with this? I've actually got an appointment at the job centre in about half an hour.
They phoned earlier, they cancelled.
What happened to Esther Ranson?
She lost.
She lost her deposit?
Her deposit. She lost her deposit, she did.
Good.
Yes, indeed, yeah. Well, someone has to say it, that's life. I know, no cigar for that one, sorry.
Right, now, everyone was hoping Ed Balls would provide a Portillo moment. Michael Portillo said this week, my name is now synonymous with eating a bucket load of in public.
We will do these game shows.
Haven't been on that one yet.
No. The offer will be coming, don't worry. Or maybe not. I mean,
I do hope so.
Yeah, so do I.
That was the most depressing use of the word yet I've ever heard in my entire life.
Did you stay up for Lembit? It was. It's the most important thing that happened in the election.
Because?
It's quite funny.
I was expecting a bit more than that, wasn't you?
Ladies and gentlemen, the great thing about losing my seat is I can actually take a fee for this now instead of getting this kind of abuse for nothing.
Do you want to do a rabble-rousing speech on behalf of our coalition?
I think what we offer is not them, basically. People are sick of you coming on here, making fun of the contestants, you know? Just because I'm having a bit of a hard time at the moment, lend us the price of a cup of tea, I'll give it back to you next year. I don't mean nothing, Governor. I've got me harmonica and can play that for you if you want. And I have. No, I have.
Gotta find some change.
I have.
Are we witnessing a mental breakdown?
You do the singing and I'll do the playing.
Extraordinary. I mean, I thought it'd be terribly boring, like most conference speeches, but it was just fabulous. And I know a lot of people who are probably nicer than me felt very sorry for her. But I thought it was very, very funny.
It's a bad sign when a cough suite goes down better than you do.
She coughed so much, it felt like she was going to start coughing insects, like an actual horror film.
But it's that moment when you're talking to someone who doesn't really believe what they're saying, and they're saying, yes, I'm really the person for the job. And everything's going very...
Coughing does not do well for female politicians. Her and Hillary Clinton, their colds have destroyed them.
Well, Ian Duncan Smith used to cough a lot. Do you remember? He was another successful Tory leader.
He never had it that bad, though.
No, you don't think so?
No, it's a sort of much lower level cough-based problem. Theresa May took it to... I mean, she weaponised. That was quite incredible. I can't believe you didn't feel any sympathy for her at all. Not even a scintilla.
Oh, dear.
I did.
I think I'm coming across as a bad person.
Awful. I only felt sorry for her because of Boris. I feel that that was such a bad day that it was almost a win for Boris, and I feel that's the only... So I feel like I hate him so much that you want her to have a better gig, you know. Why don't she sack Boris?
She can't, can she, sack Boris?
Why?
Because if she sacks him, he gets to walk away from Brexit while simultaneously being able to claim that if he'd stayed in the government, it all would have gone much better than it's clearly going to go.
You know, she can't allow him the pleasure. It's like, you know, he's essentially an arsonist who wants to come back dressed as a fireman.
Yes.
Where's the fire?
It was one of her... I mean, she's been accused of being robotic, so one of the Conservative backbenchers today was making the rounds in the TV studio saying she's made of very strong metal, which I thought was...
Well, people say that at a certain point, the Prime Minister runs out of luck. It just happens to you when everything's going wrong.
Yeah. It's like the end. It's like the complete end. She's not so much as occupying the office of Prime Minister as haunting it.
I mean, again, it's difficult to make up, but the first letter is F, so it's an F off.
An F off. 15% of respondents to a YouGov poll said that the speech had gone well. 15, which there's no way that could just be the cabinet. 15% of people. 15% of people watched that and thought, yes, that's gone rather well. Which makes you wonder what it would take to lower that number from 15%. She could have stood there and melted like the witch at the end of The Wizard of Oz. She saw 12% think it went rather well. She's a puddle on the floor. 10% still think it's gone rather well. It's 15%.
Are you sure that isn't just members of the Labour Party?
Start with the bigger election stories of the week. Ian and Romesh, take a look at this.
Trying to get out of the country? No, this is the race to get the first result in while people are still awake.
So woman can't count. Just devastated. Ed Miliband looking chilled out.
They're shouting at him.
Oh, so relaxed. You're an immigrant? No.
This is the throne.
The legend.
This way. And it's the winner.
I hate you.
Oh, there's balance. These are all people who've gone. Liberals, Hughes, poor old Danny Alexander.
Have I won?
No. No, he stayed in as punishment. And then it's goodbye. It was quite exciting because everyone said it was unpredictable, meaning they got it wrong. So we had this exit poll when it came out, which more or less told you what the result would be, which is a Tory win, except they'd understated the win. And then everyone spent the rest of the evening going, well, if this poll's right... Oh, God, it is right.
I'm just going to step to see if the exit poll's right. I know. I've stayed up for no reason. Okay.
They had Paddy Ashdown on at the beginning of the evening saying, if that exit poll's right, I'm going to eat my hat. Typical Lib Dem. The end of the evening, they gave him a hat. Did he keep his promise?
You're absolutely right, Ian.
It was the election.
Yeah, it was.
It was the election.
It was the election.
I think we nailed that question.